Okay, let's dive into something that really challenges, how we think about learning. Picture this, a bakery, but not your typical calm morning place.
Right. Sounds intense.
It is. High stakes, major promotion coming up. They're doubling production for 7 days straight. Think 800 loaves a day normally, bumped up to 1,600.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a huge leap. Serious pressure cooker.
totally. And the physical toll, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. Pushing human limits, basically.
Exactly. So right in the middle of this organized chaos, we meet two key people from our source material. He's the apprentice, pretty new.
Okay.
And manager Jiang Qi, the experienced master baker in charge.
Got it. The master and the apprentice.
Right. And there's this moment, the manager turns to Ashi, asks him straight up, do you know how to bake?
And Ashi's just honest. Says no, which you expect, right? He's an apprentice.
Totally normal answer. But the manager's reply is where things immediately get weird. He doesn't say, okay, start by sweeping or whatever. He just says, I'll teach you. Just watch my movements.
Just watch. That's it. No instructions, no steps.
Nope. Just watch my movements.
And that simple phrase kicks off this really bizarre, almost unbelievable story about learning.
Yeah, that definitely bypasses the usual, step-by-step method for learning something complex like baking.
Absolutely. So that's what this deep dive is about. We're digging into this single, really unusual story from the source. We want to analyze how it describes skill transfer happening in a way that seems to defy, well, everything we normally think about learning.
We're trying to pull out the key insights, the surprising details from this one account.
Exactly. Because believe me, it gets stranger.
It really does. So Ashi is there in this loud, busy bakery trying to focus on the manager like he was told.
Right, amidst all the noise and activity.
And then suddenly he hears this voice, but it's internal, not someone shouting over the mixers.
An internal voice.
Yeah, the source says it pierces his consciousness. Urgent. It says, quickly look at the master's heaven's gate. Quickly look at the master's heaven's gate. Whoa, okay, heaven's gate. What does the source mean by that? Sounds pretty mystical.
Well, the source explains it, in this context, as supposedly a legendary point at the back of the head, an entry point for, like, spiritual exchange.
Okay.
And it connects this voice, Ashi heard, to a dream he'd apparently had before, a vision involving Maitreya Buddha. That connection supposedly prompted him to actually look at the back of the manager's head.
So he's physically baking, or supposed to be learning to, but he gets this internal kind of mystical command linked to a dream. That's quite a mix.
It's a huge mix. And what happens when he does look, when he focuses on the spot?
Yeah, what's the sensation?
The description is pretty wild.
Yeah.
He feels something like an electric current, a force, injecting into his mind, seemingly starting from his own occipital region, the back of his head.
Injecting.
That's the word he used.
Mhm.
And the effect is jarring. He feels disconnected from the bakery, like he suddenly popped into another time or another space.
So almost like a direct download of information, bypassing, watching, smelling, feeling the dough.
That's exactly how it's presented. A non-physical, instantaneous kind of transfer.
Okay, wow. And the aftermath. What happens when this sensation stops?
Well, he sort of comes back to himself later, around midnight. Feels like he just woke up from a dream, even though he was technically there. His colleagues are finishing up.
Right. Does he feel different? Does he suddenly know things?
The big moment hits when he gets back to the dorm. He lies down, but he can't sleep.
Restless.
Not just restless. Every time he closes his eyes, his mind is just flooded. The source says the complete steps, the exact ratios, the rhythms of baking it, all just plays out in his mind.
Plays out like a movie.
More like it's being written. Silently inscribed into his memory. Perfect detail, perfect sequence.
Wow. So not like, I think I remember what he did, but like having the actual manual, the soul of the process just installed.
Well, installed is a good word for it. A sudden, complete acquisition. And the proof, the validation of this, comes the very next day.
Back into the thick of it. Thousands of loaves again.
Exactly. So he starts working alongside the others. But pretty quickly, manager Jiang Qi stops what he's doing and just watches Ashi.
He notices something.
He notices everything. The source specifically says Ashi's movements, his gestures, his timing, the whole rhythm, it's identical to the manager's own style.
Not just similar, but identical, like a mirror image.
Precisely. A perfect replication of the master's very refined, expert movements after just watching and having that weird experience.
That must have stopped the manager in his tracks.
It did. He clearly recognized this wasn't normal learning curve stuff. So he sends the other two employees away.
Leaves just himself and Ashi.
Yep, just the two of them. And they work side by side to finish the shift's remaining workload, another 800 loaves.
Just the two of them, working together seamlessly.
The source really emphasizes this. Perfect sync, no words needed. Just the shared understanding, moving as one unit, applying the exact same technique.
Incredible. And the bread itself, that's the ultimate test, right?
That's the final proof.
Yeah.
End of the shift, the manager gathers everyone. He takes the loaves he made and the loaves Ashi made, mixes them all up, and he challenges the staff. Tell me which is which.
And could they?
Nope. Nobody. Not one person could tell any difference. The texture, the crumb structure, the air holes, the proportions, every single loaf was identical. Masters, apprentices, didn't matter.
Identical after one night. That's genuinely mind-blowing. What did the manager say? How did he react to that?
According to the source, he was just thrilled, ecstatic. He apparently exclaimed, "Kirei."
Kirei.
Yeah, which the group leader, a guy named Han, later explained to Ashi means beautiful or perfect in Japanese.
Okay, beautiful bread, sure, but there had to be more to his reaction than just nice-looking loaves.
Oh, much more. The group leader passed on what the manager really thought. He told Ashi that manager Jiang Qi said he'd never seen a disciple who overnight could make bread exactly like him.
Never seen it before.
And he made a key distinction. Maybe someone could fluke an imitation once or twice, right? Coincidence. But 800 loaves, all identical.
Yeah, that's not chance.
Exactly. That, the manager said, meant Ashi had received the true transmission.
True transmission. Okay, that phrase feels really significant now. And the source then gives us context about the manager himself, which kind of dials up the intensity of this transmission, right?
It absolutely does. Turns out manager Jiang Qi isn't just a skilled baker. The group leader tells Ashi he's actually a professor at Tokyo Bread University.
A professor.
Yep. And a 3-time third-place winner in the World Bread Competition.
Wow. Okay, so world-class level. We're not talking about learning to make decent bread. We're talking about replicating elite mastery.
Elite research-level mastery. The source even mentions he gets significant funding, like 20 million Japanese yen a year from a major corporation for bread R&D. This guy is at the absolute peak.
So Ashi didn't just learn baking overnight. He apparently downloaded the skills and essence of a world-leading innovator in the field.
That is precisely the claim the source material makes. It explicitly states that Ashi's single night was equivalent to what might take others years, maybe even decades, of dedicated practice and study.
Just staggering. How did Ashi process this? What did he feel he'd received? It sounds like more than just technique.
The source describes him feeling this unspeakable emotion. He came to understand that the Heaven's Gate opening wasn't just a technical skill transfer. The source uses the term maybe meaning empowerment or initiation. He felt it was deeper, like a spiritual contract with the universe.
A spiritual contract. Wow. How did that change his view of what happened?
His realization wasn't just, I learned to bake. It was more like, I became the bread. A total integration, a shift in identity connected to the craft itself. Is pretty profound.
Okay, so this incredible, intense 7-day promotion finishes. The manager goes back to Japan, and Ashi is left with this miracle, basically, this new reality. What does he do?
Well, he hits a crossroads. He has this amazing wordless heart method for baking, this incredible gift. But at the same time, his parents are calling him home.
Why home?
They run a family business, a traditional Chinese medicine practice, a Shido. And they expect him to take it over.
Oh, wow. So one profound, almost mystical calling versus a more traditional familial duty. That's a tough spot.
For sure. The source mentions he struggled with it. He didn't want to just abandon this connection he'd found through baking. But in the end, he chose the family path.
He resigned.
Yeah, he resigned from the bakery, made sure they had someone to replace him, and went home to take on that responsibility, accepting, as the source puts it, another fated mission.
This whole narrative, it uses baking as the setting, but the core message seems much broader, doesn't it?
Definitely. The source frames it around this idea of true transmission, that real mastery in a craft, maybe any deep skill, isn't just about the physical steps or the recipe. It involves transmitting the soul of the practice.
And that unwritten method, the heart method beyond words, came through the Heaven's Gate, which is profound precisely because it was wordless, bypassing normal teaching.
Right. Ashi's journey is shown as this transformation from just an apprentice to something more, a true bearer of light, or a pick, which is like a practitioner or pilgrim. Someone who managed to fuse the skill with a deeper understanding, the or the way.
Listening to this, it really makes you pause, especially for anyone interested in learning, in mastery. We focus so much on deliberate practice, analysis, instruction.
All the conventional methods.
Exactly. And this story throws a curveball, suggesting maybe there are other channels, other ways knowledge or deep skill can arrive, perhaps instantly.
It definitely pushes us to ask if our usual models of learning are the full story. Is there a dimension, this heart connection or soul resonance that we often overlook? What could true transmission even mean for you in your own learning?
It's a really provocative question. Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into Aji's story, what are the main points the source wants us to take away from this?
Well, it doubles down on the core ideas. This seemingly impossible overnight mastery linked to the Heaven's Gate phenomenon. And it reframes learning, suggesting it be about deep connection, soul resonance, not just instruction and practice.
And it concludes with that spiritual reflection.
Yes. It summarizes by saying some skills aren't passed by words, but soul to soul. That opening your heaven's gate can potentially let the universe pour wisdom in, bypassing years of effort.
It emphasizes that real learning isn't just copying actions.
Right. It's about feeling the vibration of the moment with your heart, letting the technique become like an inner light flowing from the heart.
Which brings us back to those final powerful lines that the source quotes. Baj mountai stun.
Meaning, skill can be transmitted, the way requires relation and understanding, the heart can connect, thus all methods can enter. Skill is transferable, but the deep essence, the Tao, needs inner understanding, and the heart is the key connection point.
So the final thought for you, the listener, is really built on that.
Yeah.
As you go about learning, whatever it is you're trying to master, think about this story. If deep knowledge, true mastery, can potentially be transmitted heart to heart, bypassing years of conscious effort, what might that suggest about the limits of how you currently approach learning? Are you engaging your whole self, including that potential for heart connection, in the process?